Now, in over 10 years of my observations regarding Planet X, or the Nemesis system, there is one astounding phenomena that has become increasingly visible over the past 5 years. I'm referring to sightings like this. This particular instance was on January 27th, 2021. I conducted observations on this in the video titled Planet X in View, number 16. I'll play a few minutes of that here. Look. That's incredible. Do you realize that what we can see here is seriously huge? Huge in terms of major news headlines that should have blazed around the world on television, radio, and printed broadcasts. Now, there's an important observational factor that must be understood here. Generally, this detail appears to be a round, spherical object. However, there's something about its appearance that disrupts that assessment. And that's because there's more than just one celestial body there. One visual result of this is that many times there seems to be a bulge distorting what should be a proper circle sphere shape. So here's the more obvious one. And then we have this. And there are yet more things in that area. We'll come back to that in a minute. From the info we have thus far, that object would be roughly the size of planet Earth. Also, consider for a moment, if this area of the sky was plastered with chemtrail spraying, do you think this extraordinary object could be hidden from our view? Notice this streak of white. At some point, we might have presumed that to be a chemtrail, but in this case, it's not. And the correct assessment of what that is stunning. It's a belt or a kind of ring that travels with the planet wrapped around it, of either clouds and atmosphere or perhaps debris or plasma, don't know what, but it is attached or wrapped with the planet. This is one of the distinctive characteristics that is often visible, showing that at least one or more of these planetary bodies do have a sort of ring or atmospheric belt of some kind. We've noted that the occasion we're looking at is from over 10 months ago. So isn't that out of date now, as we're now in December 2021? Indeed, with a lot of regular news, with even just a week gone by, some things become totally irrelevant. A prime example of this would be the weather. What good is a weather forecast from last month? The crucial point to be taken here is, with the subject of Planet X and the Nemesis system, observations from something like 5 years ago are still vitally relevant today. Let's have a glimpse at a few events I captured over the past few years. This is from about 4.5 years ago. 2017, June 26th, Acapulco Marina. And we have this incredible celestial object. In the documentary video, I include footage showing the sun going down below the horizon, and about 10 minutes after that, this thing comes gradually into view. On the same date, 26th of June 2017, at a different location, we had this manifestation. It's important to know that the setting sun is located way over to the left, beyond this field of view. So, what is that bright thing? And next to it, to the right, is another event of a non-illuminated spherical body. Looking at one last example, we have October 8th, 2017, Cozumel, Mexico. I included an examination of this in a previous documentary where once again we watched the sun disappear below the horizon with this crazy looking stuff showing up after the sun has gone down. Let's drive this point a little bit to establish it as fact and not just hyperbole. Here's a table from the Time and Date website showing the precise time for sunset on October 8th, 2017 in Cozumel. And we see that sunset is at 18:29, or in other words, at 6:29 p.m., the sun disappears below the west horizon. The time of this picture is 1840, thus over 10 minutes after sunset. And by the way, it's important to know this picture and these pictures are not manipulated or filtered at all. This is plainly the raw image captured from the 24-hour webcam at El Cid Resort, Cozumel. Coming back to our event from last January, there's a couple more things to notice. So far in this date and location, we've noted this spherical body. And in further observation, we find a second object over to the left. Now, the effort to distinguish these things becomes more convoluted as another player comes into view here. This object that I highlighted first has got yet another spherical body in front of it. In the process of editing this video, my eyesight gradually discerned this smaller body in front of the larger one. Now this, of course, brings back the quandary I mentioned earlier, and that is, when we keep finding another and another and yet another spherical body, and yet a fourth one in this little group that we've pointed out, it all becomes more than the average person can take. So my point is, never mind if there's several planets there, because if there's even one rogue planetary body that's not one of the 9 known members of our solar system, well, that's huge, and that means that something extraordinary is upon us. A fundamental means of discerning whether an appearance like this is real or merely a coincidental mirage is to have video footage in which the detail of interest can be observed in its movement, as opposed to having only a still frame snapshot to view. There are various ways a mere coincidental appearance will expose itself as being nothing if we have video footage covering the evolution or progress of the detail in question. We do have further video footage of this event presented in the episode Planet X in View, number 16. In that video, we observe this spherical object traveling across part of the sky over a span of about 30 minutes. But for this present discussion, we'll move on to a different date and location that brings compelling additional data to the table. This event was captured by Seven in Ohio, and you can see the full episode on his YouTube channel. I'll place a link below.
7:07 a.m. Eastern Time, Cincinnati, Ohio, November 16th, 2021. Way before sunrise, but check this out. I mean, look at that right there. Wow, the sky just glitched. Look at that. Looks like a huge object is in the sky. Look at that. Oh, it's just abominably cold. Look at that. What is that?
It's easy to recognize the voice of Seven Spalding, and you've really knocked it out of the park with this one, Seven. And this is one of your most powerful, persuasive captures of the Nemesis system in view. In my opinion, this qualifies as explosive evidence, showing that the subject Seven's been filming and talking about for years is real, and is a situation that hangs over the world at this time.
I think everything happening right now is because there's something coming back to help us, to help our planet, to help Mother Nature, to help something.
One thing we would add is that this is a two-edged sword. On one side is the good and beautiful result that will come from this, and the other edge is the harsh realities of what must come in order to open the way for the beautiful result. Consider the following 4 examples. When a gardener needs to restore beauty to an unkempt garden, he'll go through and pull up the weeds. He'll trim and cut back rose bushes and hedges, etc. If a farmer is intent on growing a harvest of corn or wheat, he'll need to pull out all the bad plants, and he'll need to plow the ground up. To restore beauty and peaceful atmosphere to a house, one required step is to sweep the floors and round up all the garbage for removal. We're talking about an immense destruction event. There will be great cities of the world that will be reduced to heaps of jagged, toxic rubble. We'll come back to that in part 2 of this video. So let's look a little closer and zero in on some of the extraordinary details in the footage. So we've already noted these 3 items, and yet there is a lot more to be registered in this view of the Ohio morning sky. With the video on pause, there are several items of interest in this frame, and we'll just pick one at random to start with. And so, what's that? Is it a lens flare? Or is that a cloud? Is it a ball of mist or vapor? Okay, and so I'm being a little bit sarcastic there because, for example, it's obviously not a lens flare, and also it's none of the other options I suggested. And the point of going through that is to conduct a process of elimination, endeavoring to drive forward to the answer of the question, what is that? Is it just some kind of an illusion, or is it something more? And of course, you know what I'm suggesting that it looks like. In order to make any reliable progress in the assessment of what is seen here, we've got to have camera footage over a time span, enabling us to observe how the object comes into view and then track its progress. And thanks to Seven, we have such footage. In a few places, he zooms in on this area.
It looks like a huge circle and then another huge circle. Look at that. What is that?
So here we are with multiple spherical details in view. Frankly, it boggles the mind. The implications of what's in this digital video image from the Ohio sky, well, it just doesn't seem to sink in to my mind. Anyway, I'd like to focus our attention on this area. And in particular, notice this circular impression. Now, it is difficult to see it there. In fact, the suggestion of a round object there is so ambiguous that without some additional, more definite visibility, we wouldn't even have sufficient grounds to raise an observation. Thus, it is noteworthy that a few minutes earlier in Seven's video, we have this. Okay, it's time to bring this discussion to a close. Yet there is more remarkable footage that Seven recorded on that sharply cold morning of November 16th, 2021. I want to look further at the footage from that day, as well as other video documents that Seven has been producing lately. So, if time will allow me, and with Seven's permission, I hope to do a second episode on this. For the moment, we'll close with a replay excerpt from Seven's video without all my interruptions. And again, for the full original, go to Seven's YouTube channel. It's all there.
Hi everybody, it's Seven. It's 7:07 a.m. Eastern Time, Cincinnati, Ohio, November 16th, 2021. Way before sunrise, but check this out. I mean, look at that right there. Wow, the sky just glitched. Look at that. Looks like a huge object is in the sky. Look at the sky flickering. Look at that. Oh, it's just abominably cold. What is all of this? It looks like a huge circle and then another huge circle. Look at that. What is that?